Tuesday night edition of Social Distancing at the Chamber. My name is Garrick Taylor, as always joined by the CEO of the Arizona Chamber for a segment we call Happy Hour with Hammer. Glenn Hammer, how are you doing?
Doing well. How are you, Garrick?
Good. All right, rapid fire here. State of Arizona has taken the White House up on its offer. We now have a new unemployment benefit. It's above the $240 traditional state level weekly benefit. It's not as much as the enhanced additional $600 federal benefit. We kind of always knew that was a temporary deal. This throws in an extra, what is it, Glenn, $300 into the payment? Is that right?
$300. So with Arizona's benefit topping at $240, this more than doubles that to $540. So Governor Ducey did the absolute right thing, and I'm glad that the president and the administration unilaterally figured out a way they can get extra money into Arizonans and Americans who are out of work through no fault of their own.
Right. You know, a friend of the show, Michael Strain, has said, you might have seen a column he did with Scott Gottlieb in today's Wall Street Journal, that the reason you see increased economic activity is not only because of certain areas that have seen better outcomes on the health side, but also a massive stimulus. And so we have to acknowledge that that has played a role in keeping the economy going and avoiding a total calamity.
The Congress and the president have come together in a very strong, proud, bipartisan way to pass over $3 trillion worth of relief. It has kept the economy from collapsing. It's done a lot of positive things, testing, fortifying the hospitals, et cetera, on the healthcare side as well. So, you know, it becomes more and more difficult as we get closer to an election. That's sort of the physics of things in a democracy. There was a definite need to do something on the unemployment insurance end. And, you know, I do believe that in today's day and age, the country, whether it's a Republican in control or a Democrat, expects the president to act when it's impossible, for whatever reason, to reach an accommodation with Congress. We could discuss on another show if that's healthy. We could discuss, you know, if there's certain sort of human-made roadblocks like the filibuster help or hinder that process. But I believe the president acted prudently, and I believe the governor acted in the best interest of the people of Arizona in terms of finding a quick mechanism to accept those funds. And Garrick, correct me if I'm right, but I believe we're the first state out of the gate to accept those extra.
First one to take them up on the offer and actually get this thing implemented. So good for the administration to make this thing go.
So it'll be good for us. You know, the $600 extra pumped in about $8.5 billion into Arizona's economy. It's about the same as the Paycheck Protection Program for small business. You know, we had a great economist from the University of Arizona, Dr. Hammond, who was talking about that. Yeah. So 300 isn't 600, but it's quite a bit in terms of helping those who are out of work through no fault of their own get back to the wage replacement levels that they were at. And we would still hope that Congress would act on this issue, as well as paycheck protection and education and of course, liability reform. So hopefully this is a bridge to a bipartisan package that the president would sign in September.
Our dozens of viewers were itching to give you the business when you made the bold prediction that a deal would get done before the August recess, and now we're looking at a post-Labor Day deal. Glenn, I guess the debate over whether the executive branch overstepped here, we could render that mostly moot if Congress adopts a deal that looks something like this.
Yeah, I guess at this point, to get through this pandemic, I'm not going to give no purity test. Just get the job done. And yeah, I certainly was way off on, you know, how could Congress recess during a pandemic when there was obviously unfinished business? Well, I guess we got the answer. So I was wrong. And that's why I believe that the American people expected the chief executive to act. And I think those physics also apply on the state level. I mean, we have, governors are in full time in states like Arizona and many other states. Legislatures aren't. So, that vacuum is going to be filled. And I do believe that the administration, Secretary Mnuchin, Secretary of Labor, they found a good sweet spot on the unemployment insurance, and that's going to help a lot of working families, a lot of people in the state of Arizona, and I would hope in other states would do what Governor Ducey did and figure out how to accept those enhanced benefits, and as we wait for Congress to do something in September. But I'm, I guess, out of the prediction business at this point in time.
So we'll take away your card. Next item, Glenn, you've talked about this a million times on the show. The reopening of the economy, getting kids back to school, ensuring that the healthcare system isn't overwhelmed. They're all connected, and they all go back to behavior. Good news, over the last several days now, Arizona continues to have the R-naught number, which is what indicates the spreadability of the virus, or the rate of spreadability. It's been south of 1 for several days now. Lest anyone think we're about to pop the champagne, we're not, but that's a good indicator.
It's very welcome news, and for quite a number of days, we've been the lowest or the second lowest in the country. And today we're far and away we have the best R-naught number, which means, it's declining here pretty dramatically. And we see that in the numbers. We see that in the hospitalizations going down. It's very welcome. Now we have to put a few asterisks, schools, it will lead to more and more schools going to in-person learning. Our universities, as we do this show, are reopening. So we have some events that are going to increase the oxygen in social activity. And it's going to be very important to ramp up the testing. And our testing has far more capacity than it did even a month ago, as well as to make sure that those, when they do get identified as being sick, we're contact tracing and then isolating and quarantining those who are sick. That's the way we can keep this thing at a declining level.
Glenn, it's human nature. Now that the trend lines are pointing in the right direction, article in AZ Central talked about county and municipal mandates on mask wearing, and whether leaders will start to revisit those. Doctor at the U of A, Dr. Shad Marvasi, said, absolutely keep wearing the masks. It proves that it works. And if we're going to have, as you said, kids going back to school, that's an even bigger reason to keep wearing the mask.
The only way we wouldn't have a situation where our schools would close after they reopened and our universities would shut down, in my opinion, if we keep wearing the mask until we get the much better therapeutics and the vaccines, and we've talked about this, Garrick, every day, it's a great thing. Every day there's something in the paper about progress on a vaccine. If it's not here, it's somewhere in Europe or China or Israel. It's very, very exciting. We just have to get through, whether it's the aid to those who are out of work or to our small businesses or medium-sized businesses, or on the health side, we have to just bridge. I really feel we're talking now, what we're almost in September, October, November. We're talking, this is, I'll say 100 days. We're 100 days away from having, in my opinion, vaccines or much better therapeutics available to at least those who are most vulnerable or those on the front line, and some level.
Right. Governor Ducey.
120 tops.
Governor Ducey, at his weekly press availabilities, would say the same thing when it comes to mask wearing, which is keep doing it. The trend lines are in the right way. If there's a time to stop, we'll let you know, but it's not now.
Yeah, I would figure that at least through the end of this calendar year, if you're out in a public setting and are not able to physically distance, a mask should be worn. I would just say through the end of this year, because even when we have the vaccine, we're still going to have a lot of people that have not been able to take it. So, but the good news is that we could start seeing an end in sight. I mean, most of the people, neither of us are medical professionals, but we read a lot and we follow these things. I get excited when the medical professionals start getting excited.
Yeah.
And I think the prevailing wisdom now is that by the end of this calendar year, and we're deep into the year now, we're going to have at least one vaccine that is ready to rock and roll and help a lot of people.
Hey, don't sell yourself short on your medical qualifications. You do have a Twitter account, so that's halfway there. Glenn, tonight is day 2 of the Democratic National Convention. Last night featured comments from the likes of Michelle Obama and former Ohio Governor John Kasich. Tonight, another familiar face from the other side of the aisle, Cindy McCain, doing a video tribute to Joe Biden tonight. Your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll just say when I think of John McCain, I just think good thoughts. Just one of the greatest leaders this country has ever had. And Cindy McCain, in her own right, has done tremendous good work for the state of Arizona, for the United States, really for the entire world. And what I appreciate is that for the major problems of the country to be solved, they need to be done in a bipartisan way. And Joe Biden and John McCain worked on a lot of things together. They helped not just on the national front, but on the international front, and reminding people that people from different parties and fairly different ideologies can work together for the common good is important. But anytime I think of John McCain, I think, God, we miss that extraordinary leader. And I also think that, from yesterday's set of speakers, today's set of speakers, it reminds me of, I'm a big sports guy, sitting, watching the Super Bowl between the New England Patriots and the Seattle Seahawks. I'm at the highest level, but I'm grateful. I mean, watching the Super Bowl is a pretty neat thing. And everyone in that crowd was like, you got to go beast mode. You got to run the football. And a great quarterback, Russell Wilson, didn't run the football. He threw the football, and probably one of the worst calls in the history of football. And we all know how that ended. I think with Joe Biden, the focus on suburban America, suburban women, he's going to just keep driving that play. And it'll be interesting to see how President Trump responds, because I'll just tell you, from some of the stuff I've seen, he has not responded in a way that's going to lead to success in November. He has one ticket, in my opinion, to sort of address the demographic he's going to need to have a second term, and that's Ivanka. And it'll be interesting to see her role, how she's deployed, and how the country responds. That's my opinion.
All right, interesting. All right, Glenn, before we let you go, should a team with a lead allow a batter to swing on a 3-0 pitch?
If you were going to ask me this question in 1986, I'd say no, because with a big lead, the odds are like 1 in 1,000. In today's game, I think it's completely different. Let them swing away. So I think, the Padres, and was it Tatis Jr.? Yeah, Tatis, yeah. Tatis, let him swing. It doesn't. The game has just changed, in my opinion. What do you think? The coaches have said the guy missed the take sign. Fair enough. Okay. Now you could also argue, well, why do you need to look at the third base coach or at the dugout? It's 3-0. You have a big lead. What's the big deal?
I have a feeling, and I'm in there, put me in this boat too, that for fans and especially for younger players, you can't keep track of the unwritten rules. I think it's hard. And Reggie today said, because Johnny Bench and Reggie got into a little bit, where Johnny Bench said that was Bush League, and because this is a different generation of player, right? So Johnny Bench says you don't do that. Reggie says hitting home runs is hard, and hitting grand slams is even harder. Swing away. So I don't know that I have I don't know that I have a firm opinion on this. I'm just curious your take on whether you should let the guy swing.
I'll say this is I would respect if he didn't swing and decided to take a pitch. It's also a shortened season as well, so you have fewer opportunities at the plate. But I have no, I always thought there's a little bit of an inconsistency, and this is what I mean by that. One of the things that does drive me crazy is when a player doesn't run out a ball that's in play, no matter what the game situation is. So even if you're up by 10 runs, if you're in the game and you swing, run. So I don't have a problem with playing hard to the end. And then you could think of even like football in games where the team, New England Patriots again, against the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, that game was a blowout. It was a joke. And then until it wasn't, and the Patriots won. So in a short season where every game is worth 4 or 5 or so, or 3 or 4, just play. Respect your opponents, but play. And look, for the pitcher, don't put up a meatball on 3-0. It's not
that hard. Yeah. I don't know that I have a strong opinion on it. I mean, I guess I understand both sides. This has come up with things like if a pitcher still has a no-hitter, but let's say there's a base on balls and then the runner advances on an error. Now he's in scoring position. You're playing small ball and the batter lays down a bunt. You're trying to produce runs, but the counter argument is that, well, you just, it's a Bush League way to break up a no-hitter.
I think, again, it's the goal here is to win a baseball game. If the goal is you think a game's out of reach and you're doing a Bush League thing, that would probably upset me a little bit more. Yeah. But then again, play hard. I mean, we're always taught run through the tape, don't take anything for granted. So, I'll say I probably get more upset at showboating and things like that. If you're taking 6 years to go around the bases, that to me is offensive. Sure. Showing up the other team, I don't like that kind of stuff.
Sure.
But playing hard and making every swing count, and if you've got a player like that, and the manager could always take out a player, put in.
Actually, that's probably a good point on the showboat. If you hit a home run, circle the bases, you strike a guy out to end an inning, get off the field.
But I'll just say I like fundamental good baseball. I still get upset if you've got a guy on third, you've got nobody out. Figure out a way to use that at bat to get the run, to
get them home,
the run in. That's when I don't love when they're swinging for the fences. They strike out.
That's the argument now is that, but you've heard the argument. Well, Glenn, you don't want to take the bat out of his hands. But I don't follow that because I thought it was to score runs.
It's to score. Every run is still precious. So but hey, I'll tell you what I love about what we're doing. We're talking about baseball. So just keep playing. Let's have these conversations.
Yeah, that's right. All right. He's Glenn Hammer. You can find him on Twitter at Glenn Hammer. As always, Glenn, thanks for the conversation. We'll catch you on the next one.
And last thing, by the way, the D-backs are doing really well. So my prediction, I missed on politics, but I am predicting a repeat of 2001.
All is right in the world. They're back at a solid 500.
D-backs, Yankees.
All right.
It's going to happen again.
All right. Thanks, Glenn.
Thanks, Garrick.